I tried beating the most unique Terraria mod ever created.
Bro! Come on! Man, stop!
This is Terraria's B-Class, the movie. I started off by spawning into my beautiful Terraria world, and of course, as always, I opened up a little starter bag. The very first thing that I noticed was that around the character is 3 different settings, and let's go into each and every single one of them. We can switch to the defense mode, which gives us an extra 8 defense points. We can switch to the gathering mode, which grants us increased honey regeneration, and we can switch to attack mode, which ups our damage by 8%. Now on the top right of the screen, you may also see that we have 6 little plorts of honey, and this just signifies how much attacking power we have left until we can no longer send out attacks. Essentially, as long as we have honey, we are good to go. A couple quick things we're going to get out of the way. As always, we are playing on master mode, we're playing on a small world, and I will have all the boss loadouts for each and every single boss as always. So this is the pre-boss loadout, but let's continue on with the video. I spawned in with a weapon, which was basically just a little honeycomb, and essentially it fired a burst of bees, and after all the bees flew out, the actual honeycomb would also shoot out itself. This on its own dealt 5 damage per second, and as you can see with the DPS meter, this is what we roughly have on screen. The very next thing I discovered is that for almost every single crafting recipe, we're actually going to need an item called pollen, and by this point I didn't really know what pollen was and how we could actually acquire it, because the amount of mobs that I have killed at this point were very minimal. Now what pollen is just a resource dropped from basically every single mob that we can defeat, and I will come to find this out very soon. Anyways though, I browsed through all the various different things that we can craft, and I realized that instead of spending time trying to craft things, I should probably just go explore the world. I went over to the desert, which was on the left side of the world, and I continued left to find myself an ice biome. While going over to the left, I also discovered Skeletron's dungeon, and I picked up a couple of chests that were above the ground. And within one of these chests, we got ourselves a brand new accessory called the Tin Bee Idol, which just gave us 2 defense and increased our hymenoptra damage and critical strike chance by 4%. As I came back to spawn, I started digging myself a elevator, and this is where, upon killing a couple of mobs, I actually realized that, you know, defeating enemies is what gives us pollen. And then continuing the elevator, I found myself some life crystals, I got myself a bunch of ores, and as I came back up to the surface, it was a blood moon, and I had to face the reality of trying to defeat all of these mobs with minimal damage, minimal health, and frankly a very little amount of honey. This was a bit of a pain, but well, slowly but surely we got through it, and I continued mining. While digging, I found myself the summon for the Eye of Cthulhu, so we are set on that. Now only leaving us with the preparations before we can actually go and defeat the boss, which shouldn't take us too long. And as I continued mining, I went over to the desert and I found myself a Bast statue, which increases our defense basically completely for free.
Mira, a ver, Cactus, quédate quieto un momento.
Bro!
As I came back to spawn, I realized that with 35 stone and 10 pollen, we can craft ourselves the Petrified Honeycomb, which does 22 hymenoptra damage, and this just throws a heavy petrified honeycomb that deals more damage the more distance it has to fall. So this was a massive upgrade compared to the 5 damage that we had with our very first honeycomb, so of course I picked it up, and the next thing that we're going to focus on is crafting ourselves a brand new set of armor that is a part of this mod. The very first armor set that I wanted to craft was actually the Beekeeper's armor set. We could have crafted a whole different armor set, which was called the Living Flower armor set, but frankly there was no point of doing this because they were both pre-bosses, and I'd rather get the better pre-boss armor than the one that isn't as good. I hope that makes logical sense to everyone, right? So I went out, I went mining, and I picked up myself as many cobwebs as I could, as we're going to need ourselves cloth, gold, and pollen to craft ourselves a full set of this armor. Now I was lacking basically all 3 of these resources. I ended up finishing the elevator almost completely, but I ran into some lava and I found myself a mushroom biome. During the whole time while we were underground, I was picking up life crystals, and I got myself to max HP by the time I came back up to the surface. Only having 10 pollen, I still needed a bunch more to craft myself a full set of this armor, but I did craft myself the headpiece for the Beekeeper armor set, and as I went over to the corruption biome, I crafted myself the infinite summon for the Eye of Cthulhu, and I broke myself 1 shadow orb. Realizing that I needed pollen, I went out went out on a hunt and I started farming out pollen wherever I possibly could. I was still in the underground, but I was more scouring around for enemies than loot, as at this point we kind of have all of the loot that we really need. Anyways though, once I came back up to the surface, I was able to craft myself a full set of pollen armor, and as it turned to nighttime, I went to go fight the Eye of Cthulhu. So I buffed up, and this is how the boss fight went.
Switch our bees to attacking mode. Let's get all the buffs we need. Yes, I'm going to be buffing one by one. So there's the Eye of Cthulhu. There's the brains of Cthulhu. We know what the legs of Cthulhu are like. What about the cock of Cthulhu? Oh no, he's going crazy.
As you can see, we took it out, and upon defeating the Eye, we got ourselves a couple of new things. That being the Peeper Poker, which was a brand new weapon that dealt 33 hymenoptra damage. And it basically spun like a little staff, and it shot out a bunch of eyeballs that were bees. And once you released it, it would also throw the javelin. And then along with this, we got another brand new accessory called the Retina Releaser, which allows us, when taking damage, to release a flurry of Cthulhu bees and increase hymenoptra damage by 12% for a short period of time. And here is the Pre-Eater of Worlds class loadout. While it was the Blood Moon, I used this as my opportunity to farm out more pollen, as I knew it was going to come useful sooner rather than later.
Why is it so OP? Why is it so powerful? This is so stupidly OP.
And upon finishing the Blood Moon in the bottom left corner of my screen, I saw that the Goblin army was invading. This was perfect, as it will allow us to get the Goblin Tinker quite early within the game, so I went to go take on the Goblin army and defeated them as fast as I possibly humanly could. Anyways, we took them out, and after I realized that I can craft myself an accessory called the Jar of Honey, which increases our damage, our maximum honey, and life regeneration. And all I needed was 20 pollen and a single glass bottle. So I went on to craft that, you know, going to the jungle and getting myself honey and crafting exactly what I needed. I made it, and then I went over to the corruption biome, chucked a couple of bombs, made an arena, and I went to go fight the Eater of Worlds. And this is how the boss fight went.
Ah! Oh my god. Damn, this thing does so much damage. It's insane. Oh god. Wait, I can break all of his projectiles simply. I'm invincible to all of his attacks. This is so broken. I can basically fight him as if I've got a melee weapon. It's like if his head is not charging me. This is the easiest boss. I didn't know melee attacks actually destroy those little things though. Oh, easy.
We made an absolute joke out of the Eater of Worlds. This boss fight was very easy with the Peeper Poker, as it was kind of like fighting the Eater of Worlds with his own abilities. Like, he was shooting orbs at me and I was shooting orbs at him, so it made the fight quite easy even though we were on master mode, and well, we defeated him as you can see. Once the boss was defeated, upon opening up his little loot bag, we got ourselves the Eater of Honeycombs, which dealt 18 hymenoptra damage, and it fires corrupted bees and mini eaters before being thrown and seeking out targets itself. So that was pretty neat, but I still believe the Peeper Poker is far better than the Eater of Honeycombs, but you'll see according to the class loadouts. Anyways, here is the pre-Skeletron class loadout. Our next step was to craft ourselves a Nightmare pickaxe, and I wanted to also craft myself a brand new set of armor, which was the Wasp set. For this, we basically had everything that we needed. We just needed some shadow scales, some pollen, and we were basically good to go. So I crafted myself the full set of Wasp armor, and we are now ready to proceed with the rest of our shenanigans before trying to go and defeat Skeletron. I went over to the jungle to find myself the boomstick shotgun, and after quite a while of searching, I finally found it.
Bro! Such a long way back too, man. Boomstick. Holla at me, yeah.
And the reason we needed this is because we're going to craft a brand new weapon from the B class very soon. But we needed hellstone for it, so I went down to the underworld and started digging up a bunch of hellstone. I already had a bunch of obsidian from earlier while I was mining within the underworld, so all I needed was just a bit of hellstone, and we're kind of chilling. I came back up to the surface and I had molded, melted, and anviled out, furnace out. myself 230 hellstone bars. With this, I was able to craft myself a brand new accessory called the Hellcomb Shard, which just increased the chance to strengthen our friendly bees by 40%, and the strengthened bees have a chance to cause volatile explosions. Once this was crafted, I headed straight on to making the very next weapon, which was the Hellfire Beamstick. This is kind of like the boomstick, but it's like a more OP version, and shooting this was absolutely a blissful experience. Just have a look at it yourself, check this out. This was absurd.
So right click fires a Hellfire slug. Oh my god. Woo! Oh my this is so fun to use.
I went over to the jungle to make myself a little arena within the jungle, but as I was blowing up a massive area, I actually summoned in the queen bee, and I'll just kind of show you how this all played out.
It's gonna make a big boom. Oh no, I wasn't ready. I didn't mean to spawn in the queen bee that quickly. We gotta build the arena as we're fighting the bee. Let's light it up. Let's use our pro infernum mode skills to light up the arena and dodge at the same time. To be completely honest, I have no idea how she spawned. We're in defending mode? Oh no. Let's go to gathering mode. Oh damn. Woo! Yo, maybe we can like outrun her. I wonder how useful this is going to be against the wall of flesh. Woo! Damn. I love these big molten shots, bro. We gotta stop missing these big shots. Okay, queen bee. Easy.
But anyways, upon a long and treacherous fight, I did take out the queen bee, and before even opening up her expert mode bag, I summoned her in again and fought her and defeated her. Once the queen bee was beat again, I opened up her treasure bag and I got myself a couple of interesting items. The very first thing was I got royal jelly, which permanently increases my maximum honey by 25, and this is of course a one-time use thing. And then I also got myself a weapon called the Sting, which deals 39 hymenoptra damage and essentially just summons in like a little hornet, or I mean it's not very little, but it looks quite little to me compared to the very endgame weapon of this mod. But once again, it wasn't too practical, and there are just far many better weapons that we can utilize that were within this mod. I also got myself a weapon called the Needle Shot, which deals 28 hymenoptra damage, and lastly the Queen's Charge, which was basically a shield of Cthulhu, but it created bees every time we dashed. So I basically used this up until the very end of the game, and this was a very good accessory, especially from like, you know, a queen bee drop. It was quite unexpected. Once we got all of this over with, I want to craft myself a brand new weapon, which I realized that we could craft, called the Star Strap. This dealt 21 hymenoptra damage, and it fires a burst of bees which spawns stars from the heavens on hit. The reason we couldn't craft this any earlier, well, because it needs beeswax to actually craft, so this is technically a post queen bee weapon. I then was scouting around for more accessories that I can craft, and I wanted to craft myself the Hymenoptrian necklace, which required a bunch of random accessories that I could not find, especially the nectar vial. The nectar vial I was not able to find basically the entire game, so if anybody knows how you get this, please comment down below. Anyways, I went over to the corruption biome, and after picking up the meteor, I summoned in the Eater of Worlds, and I went to go fight him. This was a very clutch boss fight, but I did take him out. You know, it was kind of like for no reason whatsoever. But then I went over to Skeletron's dungeon, built an arena, and as it turned to nighttime, I summoned him in and went on to go fight him. And this is how the boss fight went.
I forgot we have to get his hands first, right? That's how Skeletron works. Oh, we're taking some heavy damage. There's just so many projectiles that it's so hard to see what's what. Like what's mine and what's his. Okay, bro, that was so easy.
As you can see, we obliterated Skeletron, and here is the pre-Wall of Flesh loadout. As soon as we beat Skeletron, I opened up his bag and I got myself a weapon called the Skelecomb, which was essentially just a honeycomb, but you know, it was a skeleton, so it makes sense, Skelecomb, right? 37 hymenoptra damage, and it conjures skeletal bees which slash enemies, and if we right click with the cursed skull, it curses enemies, causing them to take 15% more damage from all other damage sources. I went into the dungeon and started picking up as many water candles as I could. I tried to open up as many chests as I could. I got myself as many keys as possible, but there wasn't really anything new to pick up from the mod that was within this dungeon, so I skedaddled out of there quite quickly. And using all of the bones that I collected from the dungeon, I crafted myself a full set of skeletal bee armor, which was pretty freaking neat. And then I went down to the underworld and started building myself an arena for the Wall of Flesh. I went out to farm for guide voodoo dolls, and very quickly I did find myself a guide voodoo demon. I took him out and I got myself the doll. I then went over to the corruption biome, made an infinite summon for the Wall of Flesh, just because I know I'm probably gonna die a lot, and I thought just for fun, let's go try the Wall of Flesh just to kind of get a feel of how difficult it's going to be with this class. So I got myself all the various different buffs that I could. I went down to the underworld, I buffed up, and I went to go fight the Wall of Flesh, and this is how the boss fight went.
We might not be able to beat it fast enough, or we might clutch it like crazy. Now I'm going back into defense mode. Ooh. Okay, that was... I didn't think that would happen, but okay, we took out the Wall of Flesh, bro.
As your luscious, gorgeous, beautiful eyes can see, I took out the wall, and I mean, I was quite lucky with this. I didn't genuinely think I was going to defeat the Wall of Flesh, but we did. And as soon as I opened up the Wall of Flesh bag, I got myself the Beekeeper emblem, which just increases our hymenoptra damage by 15%. And I got myself a weapon called the Honey Shot, which was a bow that dealt 60 hymenoptra damage. The visual effects of this bow were very, very intriguing, and I love to shoot this thing, and it was also quite good for taking out the mech bosses. Now, speaking of mech bosses, here is the pre-mech bosses loadout. I got myself a gravitation potion, and I went to go fight wyverns. I did take a couple of L's while fighting these long boys, but I did eventually get myself enough souls of flight and a giant harpy feather to where I can craft myself a pair of harpy wings.
Yo! Yo! So much damage. Yo, I forgot that we have like 20 defense, yo.
So I crafted myself a pair, and then I went through the treacherous pickaxe progression, and in the end getting 75 titanium bars. The first thing I went to go do as soon as possible was go over to the hallowed biome and fight a bunch of unicorns up until I got 3 unicorn horns, and once I came back to spawn using a mithril anvil, iron, 3 unicorn horns, and 15 pollen, I crafted myself the Bee Squire shield, which we could equip, and it would give us 5 defense, and it summoned a Bee Squire that hovers near us, firing arrows at nearby enemies. I then went to the underground hallowed biome to farm out a bunch of souls of light, and once I had a decent amount of souls of light, I came back up to the surface, made the summon for the twins, buffed up, and went to go fight the twins, not thinking much about it, and it was more or less that I didn't really want to beat them. I just wanted to test out the difficulty once more, but this is how the boss fight went.
I don't know if we have nearly enough just buffs in general. Oh god. Ah, they're railing me so hard. Oh no! No, don't knock me into your other twin. Oh, we're so close. We have this, bro. An incessant buzzing is heard coming from the trader's bee shop.
To my surprise, I took out the twins with like 28 defense. It was very clutch, but that is that. Once the twins were defeated, I opened up their little loot bag and got myself a weapon called the Ocular Remote, which summoned in like a little set of twins and it dealt 58 hymenoptra damage. Realizing that I can craft a pretty cool gun using the handgun, which is found in the dungeon, I went over to the dungeon and tried to open up a bunch of various different chests to find myself the handgun, but frankly, I could not find it because I think I deleted it at some point, just like tossed it in the trash thinking that I'll never need it. But hey, this is what you get for not using the magic storage mod. Boyo. All mods are in the description as always. But instead of this, I went down to the underground corruption biome and I started farming out for souls of night. Once I got myself enough souls, I just kind of waited for it to turn to nighttime. I was killing a bunch of corruptors so I can get myself a bunch of rotten chunk because I didn't have enough to make the summon for the destroyer. And once I came back to spawn, I crafted myself the summon for the destroyer and Skeletron Prime. This is where I was checking out brand new weapons, and as it turned to nighttime, I set my eyes on a brand new weapon called the Bazooka. The first thing we needed though was illegal sandgun parts, so we had to wait for it to turn to nighttime, and once it did, I bought myself the illegal sandgun parts, crafted myself the Bee-Nade launcher, which then I was able to craft myself the Bazooka. Once that was crafted, I buffed up and went to go fight the destroyer.
Oh, we are demolishing the destroyer. You can even say that we are destroying the destroyer. The destroyer is not having fun, man. That was so easy.
The destroyer went out very, very quickly, and as soon as he was out, I went on to fight Skeletron Prime. By the way, is the destroyer a he or a she? I'm just gonna assume it's a he because, you know, it's like a worm, but yo, this is family friendly. Let's not get into that. Am I right?
I think this thing launches you. Yeah, it does. Let's go regain some honey now. Woo! Oh my goodness, man. This class makes the mech bosses so easy.
Anyway, Skeletron Prime went out, and here are the weapons that I immediately got upon defeating these bosses. Upon defeating the destroyer, I got myself the Pro B Comb, which dealt 65 hymenoptra damage, and if we hold left click, it charges up a burst of probes, and probes fire deadly lasers at enemies. So we charge it up, we shoot, and it fires a bunch of probes. From Skeletron Prime, the weapon wasn't as powerful when you actually put it into practice, but it was called the Metal Plated Honeycomb, and it dealt 43 hymenoptra damage. It basically had all the abilities of Skeletron's hands, so that was neat, but it just didn't really do much damage. After we defeated both of these bosses, I had enough hallowed bars to craft myself the pickaxe axe and the honeycomb crusader armor. So I crafted myself a full set of this, and now the jungle grows restless and we can now go and fight Plantera. As I typically do within my videos, I have like a little interruption here, but the one thing I would ask for you is if you're enjoying the content thus far, drop a like and follow my Instagram, which is in my very first link in the description. I'll reply to anyone that sends me a message, so it'll be less crowded than my Discord servers because I have like hundreds of messages that I just don't reply to. So if you want to reach out, just drop me a follow and message me, and I will 100% get back to you. But anyways, back to our abomination of a video. Get it? I wanted to craft myself an accessory called the Glass of Honey, which required a bit of tinkering, but very soon we got this. You'll see the recipe on the screen. As you can see, it wasn't too difficult to craft, and all this did was increase our hymenoptra damage by 10, increased our maximum honey by 10, and increases our life regeneration. This is the pre-Plantera loadout. I went into the jungle as fast as possible and I started farming out chlorophyte. I dug up every single bit that I could find because frankly we're very early in the playthrough and chlorophyte just hasn't grown to the extent that I want it to be grown to. While digging, I found myself Plantera's bulb very quickly, and once we had enough chlorophyte, I came back to spawn and crafted myself a brand new weapon called the Chlorocomb. This dealt 61 hymenoptra damage and it throws a fragile honeycomb which shatters into homing fragments, chlorospores, and chlorobees. And chlorobees just materialize into chloro energy upon death. I don't know what that means. I'm reading the description and I don't know what that means. But chloro energy, am I right, guys? Whew. Is that going to be our nation's new fuel source? I wish we could run on chloro energy because it would be infinite, right? After this, I farmed out some stingers and some jungle vines so I can craft myself the Amazon yo-yo. And the reason I crafted myself the Amazon yo-yo so I could craft myself the ambrosial throw, which dealt 29 hymenoptra damage, and combining that with some chlorophyte and some pollen, we can craft the wasp nest, which dealt 68 hymenoptra damage, and it basically just throws a wasp nest that spawns wasps while in the air. So we did this, and once I craft that, it turned to nighttime and I went to go fight all of the mechs so I can get myself more money. Once I did have myself enough money, I got myself tons and tons of buffs, and I went to that initial queen bee arena where I had fought the bee, and making a little tunnel to the Plantera bulb that I earlier found. I went there, broke it, and quickly ran back to my Plantera or queen bee arena as fast as possible, and this is how the boss fight went.
Come on, Plantera. Come on. I'm like boosting my way around the arena using this weapon. There we go.
We took Plantera out and it wasn't too much of a hassle, and this is the pre-Golem loadout for you lovely viewers. But after Plantera was defeated, I opened up her loot bag and I got myself the Hymen's Apiary, which drops honey droplets whenever we are damaged. This comes in useful as the honey droplets actually like regenerate your honey, so that's pretty cool. You don't really have to go into the gather mode, but that's that. I explored Golem's temple a little bit. I picked up more and more chlorophyte, and then I went into the dungeon to farm out ectoplasm. Once I had enough ectoplasm, I went to craft myself a full set of honey fight armor. I crafted the one with the more defense, and this is basically the last armor set up until Endgame. So the defense that we have right now is all the defense that we're going to get for Moonlord. So we have to keep up with the same defense for Golem, Lunatic Cultist, and Moonlord himself. Yeah, it's a bit of a tragedy and I did struggle, but I guess that's just part of being a Terraria YouTuber. That's that. Since I wanted to craft myself a brand new sword, which was found at the very end of the game, I went out of my way to get myself the enchanted sword, and I converted it into the Arcalis, which, is it pronounced Arcalis or Arcalis? But essentially I converted it because I didn't have it in my world and that was the only way of really getting it, and I don't like fishing, so screw you for all the people saying just go fish. I don't like fishing, man. Anyways, upon getting more resources, I turned the enchanted sword into the blade of Aculeus, and once I came back to spawn, I started the solar eclipse. I spent the whole time trying to get broken hero swords because we needed to transform these swords into better versions, and of course every single Terraria sword progression, combine broken hero sword with two other broken hero swords, make yourself OP sword. Can we stop getting terribly progression for every single melee type weapon? I would love you if you do that, mod developer. Any mod developer that's listening to this. Probably no one cares what I have to say, but hey, I'm speaking for the masses. Anyways, we got ourselves the broken hero swords, and I crafted myself the true Stinger Schmitter and the true Nectar Slasher, which, you know, we just had the Nectar Slasher, and I crafted myself the Bee Blade. Now, the Bee Blade does 198 hymenoptra damage. I would have mentioned the other swords, but they're not really important. The Bee Blade is what counts. It creates a large slash of energy on swing, and striking an enemy spawns a flurry of stingers behind the player. This deals an immense amount of damage for the stage of the game that it is for, and it's very worth getting. Oh, and we also got a set of Mothron wings if, you know, you guys care. While it was nighttime, I decided to go farm out the destroyer, and using the Bee Blade, it was absolutely ridiculously, overpoweredly, hilariously easy. Any other synonyms? Put them down in the comments below. But yeah, we defeated the destroyer a bunch of times and we got tons and tons of money, like nearly 10 platinum, and then I just went to go reforge all of my accessories and weapons. I ideally wanted to get warding on everything and just make sure that my weapons were actually putting up the damage numbers that I want. I just wanted my weapons not to have any bad reforges. Anyways, I went down to Golem's temple and I spawned him in, and this is how the boss fight went.
So far, I think we've actually no-hit him. So far, we're doing all right. Oh, we got hit.
As you can see, first try, Golem easily, mummified? I don't know. What do you do to golems? I'd like to know. Golem taken out. This is the Lunatic Cultist loadout, for crying out loud. Can we get a hell yeah for Lunatic Cultist? Once I came back to spawn, we got invaded by goblins, you know, the purple creatures. Are they purple or are they gray? I guess that is for God to figure out. We took the goblin invasion out, and upon opening up Golem's little treasure bag, I got myself a brand new weapon called the Tome of the Sun, which created a pulse of vibrant nectar energy at the mouse cursor, which splits into homing bolts, and it deals 105 hymenoptra damage. It sounds better than it actually is. It's really not that good. It's not even worth using. The sword is just better. As I went to the B NPC, I also realized that he was selling a brand new weapon called the Beanie Gun, which is like a minigun, but you know, that shoots bees. So I buffed up and went to go fight Lunatic Cultist with the Beanie Gun. And this is how the boss fight went.
Oh, damn, what is that? I forgot about that. I forgot about that attack. The prophecy's end.
As you can see, at the very end of the boss fight, I clutched and died, but we'll get him sooner or later. We're very close, and I just made some stupid mistakes and died to some stupid projectiles. The very next thing I went to go do, realizing that the Martian saucer actually drops some special items and special weapons, I got noticed by the Martians and went to go fight the Martian Madness event. And this is kind of how it went, essentially. I really hate the Martian saucer. If you guys don't already know that by the previous little movie videos I have made. But just, yeah, check this out and see how much I am in love with the saucer.
Bro, the Martian saucer, I hate this thing. I hate my life. What did I get? Nothing. What? I hate. Literally, the Martian saucer is the hardest thing for me, like, of all time. Like, what is...
Yeah, continuous rage after rage while farming out the Martian saucer. This makes me want to commit game end and never open my game ever again. Or I guess, for that matter, open my eyes ever again. While taking out the Martian saucer a couple of times, I managed to get myself an accessory called the honey manipulator, which converted 65% of our maximum honey into our health, which this accessory was cool, but I didn't really use it too much. I then got myself the laser beam rifle, which dealt 119 hymenoptra damage, and then I got myself the Beano Popper, which dealt 49 hymenoptra damage. With all these newfound weapons, all these newfound powers, I buffed up and went to go fight the Lunatic Cultist, and this is how the boss fight went this time.
Let's go. Using the laser beam blaster. Oh, we're taking this W so easily.
As you can see, we defeated him, and while I was in the area of the solar pillar as we defeated the Lunatic Cultist, I just took out the solar pillar because why not, right? I'm already there and the mobs aren't giving me too much trouble. This is where I discovered photonic particles, which is kind of like the fragments of the B class, so that was pretty neat, and we can actually use this to craft a brand new weapon at the very end of the game. But I went to go take out the vortex pillar.
Oh my god. I hate this thing.
And then I went to go take out the Stardust pillar.
340 damage for a freaking projectile, bro. I barely got the chance to even enter. without being used and abused.
And after this, I went to go do the Frost Moon as I wanted to get myself a brand new accessory from the Ice Queen. This is the pre-moonlord loadout. As we're fighting the Frost Moon, I was taking quite a bit of L's from the Ice Queen, but I did manage to get myself the accessory that I wanted, which was the Frozen Stinger. And it just increased our hymenoptra critical strike chance by 8% and critical strikes inflicted frost burn, which reduces enemies' defenses and makes them shatter at low HP, damaging other enemies around them. I didn't really use this accessory because it wasn't too practical when it actually came to playing the game or defeating bosses, but it would be pretty neat for large crowds of enemies. I went into the jungle and got myself a ton of a life fruit, and I also trolled Plantera a little bit.
We're gonna beat the fuck out of Plantera, bro. Already watched this. Oh goddamn, we're about to die, bro.
Once I had myself enough life fruit, which by enough I mean 3, I crafted myself the Heart of Honey, which for every 25% of honey gained increased our health a little bit. So as we gained honey, we gained health. As it was slowly fading into nighttime, I went to go clean up all the graves of my various different arenas, and I went to go farm out the destroyer once it turned to nighttime again. By the end of all of this, I had over 20 platinum coins, and I went to go reforge everything to warding, giving us like 71 defense, just that baseline without using the defense buffs provided by the B class. I then started making myself a massive asphalt arena, and once that was done across the entire world, I went to go take out the Nebula pillar.
Bro, how do I get decimated in... Bro! How does a brain sucker deal 200 damage? Why?
And once that was taken out, I combined all of the fragments with the photonic particle to craft myself the honeycomb of the cosmos, which dealt 77 hymenoptra base damage, and essentially we can hold left click to channel a honeycomb radiating with universal energy, as apparently the tooltip says, and it just fires out like a bunch of stars, and once we let go it shoots out and just like explodes. So it was neat, and we used this to take out the moonlord. Speaking of the moonlord, this is how the moonlord boss fight went.
Ah, that was tough. Damn.
As you can see, we failed, and here are a couple of more tries of me trying to take out the moonlord.
Ah! It's that laser, man. It just hits you when you're out. Man, stop!
Yeah, as you can see, I wasn't really having it too much, so I had to re-strategize a little bit. I moved the nurse up to where my platform was, just so I can use the nurse cheese more frequently. I then cleared out a sky island so it would not get in my way, you know, just in case the laser decides to pull up on me as I'm in that general area. And this is where I went to go fight the moonlord again. I buffed up, summoned him in, and this is how it went.
Come on, stop hitting me. I think we got it in the bag here. Come on, come on, no! Yes! We were so close to dying. We would have died if that second laser would have hit. Oh, yes. Oh my God. Oh my God. That was the most clutch boss fight of my life.
As you can see, I barely was able to take him out. I should have died, but we died at the same time, and I guess that counts for me. This is the Endgame class setup, and we also got ourselves a brand new weapon called the Queen's Larvae. This dealt 576 hymenoptra damage, and it basically summoned in a queen bee, like a fully fledged queen bee that dealt a decent amount of damage. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend this, but it was still a fantastically cool weapon to play around with. But you have made it to the end of the video, and congratulations on your 1% attention span. Like literally almost nobody makes it to the end of these videos. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I'll see you next time. This has been Boyo. Peace out.